You still on that diet, Whitey?
Oh, yeah, Jack, and it's keeping me moving pretty good. I'll meet you at lane side, fella.
Okay. We're on 21 and 22 here at the Marlboro Lanes. Top Star Bowling. You all set? Oops. Better get going. Come on. Hi there, everyone. Yes, it is time for Top Star Bowling. Jack Buck and Whitey Harris here from the very beautiful Marlboro Lanes in the village of Marlboro, just southwest of the city of St. Louis, the gateway to the west, and another fine bowling show coming your way. Before introducing our contestants on this particular program, a little bit about the format. This is a three-game match with the total pins counting to determine the winner for $1,000. And the winner comes back to take on another opponent. The loser gets $500 and goes his way. And in addition, there's $2,500 more in prize money for high series and high game provided by the King Louis shirt people. And those prizes are awarded once every 13 weeks here on Top Star Bowling. We have a nice crowd on hand, a lot of fun in store for you as we meet a gentleman who's back for his third week. He is a member of Bowling's Hall of Fame. He's from Cleveland, Ohio, Steve Nagy. Steve? Steve, good to see you.
Glad to be back again.
It appears that in the past, 3 is about the most that anybody was able to survive here in Top Star Bowling. Maybe you can change that around.
No, if it was, hope it's better than it was last week.
I wasn't going to talk about it if you weren't.
Well, I mean, I got that out of my system, I hope.
Okay, fine. Here's a fellow who hope you don't have it out of your system. He is one of the top bowlers in the world today. He's from the St. Louis area, Ray Bluth. Ray, good to see you.
Thank you, Jack.
What do we say? Warson Village, huh?
Warson Woods.
Warson Woods. Okay, we got to give the proper credits, and we know that everybody's anxious for the bowling to get underway. So a handshake from you men, a greeting from the audience once again, and we're all set to go. 3 games, total pins for $1,000 on Top Star Bowling. Steve Nagy won the toss, and he chose to have Ray Bluth lead things off. Ray selected lane 21. And his first delivery on the head pin, and he starts with a split as he leaves the 3-6-7-10. At this point, I should like to introduce a member of the Brunswick Advisory Staff of Champions, Whitey Harris, who's at the microphone with us.
Jack, on this split by Ray, I noticed his moved over, but not as far to the left as normally. They do shoot pins on the right side.
He has to cover that 3-6 so as to get the 7 pin, and he was every place but on. So he opens in the first ray. He gave it quite a whirl. He expected to get that, too.
Yes, and looked like it would, Jack, but that's just the way it goes sometimes.
Can't hit him any better than that. And now Steve Nagy trying to win for the 3rd consecutive week. Almost got the Brooklyn to start with, but he leaves the 6 pin. At this point, I'd like to mention the Top Star Bowling television series is sanctioned by the ABC, American Bowling Congress, and the lanes are also certified by the ABC. Everything according to Hoyle here at the Marlboro Lanes. And there's a mark for Steve Nagy, and he's out in front in the first game. Steve Nagy defeated Bob Chase. Bob from Kansas City, who had won 3 in a row. And then Steve took care of a challenger last week in the person of Ray Orff. He'll have his hands full in this one. A little bit off balance as he went up to the line. Leaves a 3-6-10.
Be interesting to note whether Steve will be on the same in the same area on the approach as Ray was, Jack, and looking down there. Actually, he's a little farther to the left on the approach.
Covering the 3-6-10, and he leaves a 3, and so he has an open. So both start rather slowly. These are a couple of seasoned professionals, and if you want to watch attitude, why, you will see it prevailing here on the lanes. Ray starting way inside.
And Ray has one of the most distinctive styles, Jack. Notice it just looks like a photographer taking a picture.
And a beautiful line, a beautiful strike for Ray Bluth. He's starting way inside, walking almost straight to the line, and of course he is squared away to the foul line as he delivers the ball, and throwing almost right at that pocket with a fine roll.
A lot of times Ray is asked why he gets in this position, Jack. Well, if you'll notice, he pulls the ball over to the right a little bit. He's actually in line when his ball comes back on the backswing.
And it comes almost straight back, and there is his double. So after a split, a double by Ray Bluth. When you start to reel off the accomplishments of Ray Bluth in this sport of bowling, why, you can go on and on. He's a former ABC Masters champion. Holds a lot of world's records. Steve Nagy was out the window with that one. And he leaves the 1-2-8. Steve's been having a little difficulty with a trick knee that he has. Something that he has struggled with over the years. Don't forget he's got that 8-pin back there. He didn't forget it. It was fair, a miss, and a spare for Steve Nagy. Steve is from Cleveland, Ohio. Husky fella, 5'10", 220 pounds. He's a fine bowling instructor, as most of these professionals are on the Brunswick advisory staff. He's looking for his first strike. He is on the nose, and he leaves the 3-6. Steve's hobby is golf, and that seems to be a rather usual thing amongst the bowlers.
Seem to parallel, Jack, I guess, the style of what different things, follow through and things like that.
Plus the exercise for the legs. Steve didn't miss this time. So he has 44 through the third frame with a spare up, and Ray Bluth, he's looking for 3 in a row. Tremendous amount of concentration is put to work by Ray.
Imagine you note the eyes peering right over that wrist. You really can notice the concentration there.
Right over the third arrow, and right up. He rocked the 10-pin and was tapped. Ray leaves a lot of 10 pins and 4 pins, Whitey.
Well, it just shows you, it's as a credit to his style and everything, Jack, that he's constantly in that pocket. I think he hits the pocket more than any of the top pros. It's just things like this that probably keeps him from winning a lot of the big ones.
Of course, he has won his share, but I think of all the people that other bowlers would like to go against, well, Ray is the one they fear the most. The big thing is that Ray is always in the pocket, as Whitey pointed out. Just inside the third arrow, and he gets a strike. So he has 3 strikes in 5 frames with 1 double, 1 open. He has 78 through the fourth with a strike up.
They kid Ray a lot, actually, about his knowledge of the game and the lanes he bowls on. He actually takes notes, Jack, and refers to these time and again during a series.
Outside once more for Steve Nagy. Leaves the rail, 1-2-4-7. Steve is a former BPAA National All-Star champion. He was elected to the Hall of Fame of bowling in 1963. Yeah. I thought he had that, Whitey.
Jack, on a cover like that, it's strange, but that does happen quite often where that 7-pin remains.
Even when you hit it properly on the Brooklyn side, huh?
Yes, but the best way to hit it is on the Brooklyn side.
Bluth has 78 through the fourth with a strike up, and Nagy has 69 through the fifth. Steve Nagy bowling in the 6th frame, gets his strike. That's his first strike of the match, and he has 2 opens. Ray Bluth has 1. Ray has 1 double, looking for another. Third arrow. He's left a solid 10 and a solid 7 so far, both on this lane.
Don't be looking over at me and ask me how to explain that.
No, I'm not looking for an explanation on that one, Whitey. one of the things that just happens.
I think Joe Norris always did argue that there was never a tap, but I think this can be classified as a tap in the game when you do leave the 7-pin.
Ray gets a 7-pin and a spare. He failed the double. He has 98 through the 5th frame.
Notice that as Ray goes to the foul line, comes up strong with the ball.
In the pocket, giving him 118 through the 6th. Now Steve needs a double right here.
Approach style of both these bowlers is a little different, although you'll notice Steve up there, Jack, he'll do a little shifting around on his feet, and then he starts to the foul line. 4 steps.
There's a double. And he needed that one, too. He matches the double of Ray Bluth. The difference is the one additional open that Steve Nagy has. Both misses, by the way. Ray Bluth has had a split. Now in the 8th frame, Steve Nagy looking for a 3-bagger. Almost swept them out of there, but left the 2-pin. So he's about 20 pins behind right now. And a spare for Nagy. The winner of this match will take on Wayne Zahn. What about him, Whitey?
Wayne, he's one of the, he's originally out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Jack, and now he's out of Atlanta, Georgia. He's been competing a lot of the PBA tours, and he's been getting right up there in the high money bracket.
Blew through that one out the window. Leaves a 1-2-9. Very disgusted as he comes back.
Well, this is what we were speaking about, Jack, that this fella is so much in the pocket. When he does get one out here, this was really a wild pitch.
He comes back for the spare. Bluth rolling in the 9th frame, working on a spare. He's a bit high, and he leaves the 4-7. I was talking about next week. Actually, I should have said Ray's next appearance or Steve Nagy's next appearance. The winner of this match will be taking on Wayne Zahn. For next week, we have a ladies' special. And a spare for Ray Bluth in the 9th. A couple of fine lady bowlers next week. Whitey?
Oh, well, this will be an outstanding match, Jack, because Marion Ladwig, who is one of the greatest of all time, and Judy Audsley, who is an up-and-coming bowler, have met before. So it's quite a treat to see these two again on television and see a match like that. I think we'll see some high scores.
That's next week. Steve Nagy's ball just dived in there. And that's his first split of the game. And he was already down in the match. Shooting at the 4-6. And he ends up with 9 pins and 145 through the 9th frame. Neither is going to score too high here in the opening game of the match. This is the 3rd week of competition for Steve Nagy. No 5-pin. So Steve has to bring this back for a spare and get a 10 count for 165. There's the spare. When Steve defeated Bob Chase, he rolled a 640 series. Bob Chase has the high so far in this 13-week period with a 673. And Bob also has the high single, 236, a 9 count for Steve Nagy, and 164. 164 for Steve Nagy in the first game. Last week, Steve, and you heard him refer to this at the outset, Bowled only 532, but nonetheless won over Ray Orton. Now Ray Bluth in the roll-off has a spare up.
Watch the approach, Jack. It's very slow to the foul line. Then snaps the ball right off.
Step approach. And in there for the strike. So whereas Steve Nagy was only able to come up with 2 strikes, putting them together for a double, that's the 5th strike for Ray Bluth. Started with a split. .206 if he goes all the way. He needs this hit to reach the 200 mark. He's high. So the best he can do is 196. And that would be a 32-pin lead over Steve Nagy at the end of the first game. Ray, one of the fine team bowlers around the country. He's got an awful lot of seconds and thirds. He gets those 2 pins and 196. So Ray Bluth has a lead of 32 pins at the end of the first game, 196 to 164 for Steve Nagy. Well, Ray Bluth, the challenger on this week's Top Star Bowling, seems to find the lanes pretty much to his liking as he's opened up a 32-pin advantage over Steve Nagy, who's been here for 2 previous weeks. And the strikes are 5 strikes for Ray and 2 for Steve Nagy so far in our match. Second game. Steve Nagy needs a start now in the second game. He's up on 21 after bowling 164 with 2 misses and a split. 3 opens in the first game. Leaves a 4-7.
Stay right with him there that time, because it looked like that 7 pin might have come this way.
By the way, you'll notice how very quickly the rake comes down on the Brunswick A2 automatic pin setter, but the turret stays up there long enough to give the bowler a fair shake on that rocking pin. Doesn't come down and get it right away. There's a spare for Nagy.
People should note, Jack, that every time these fellas will look on the approach where they stand, where they start in dimension, going to the line and even to the horizontal area.
Bluth starts with a strike after having 5 of them in the first game. He gives it that little oomph at the foul line. He certainly does end up in a nice squared-away fashion.
Now, Ray is a type bowler, Jack, that doesn't need too much of what we would call a sliding approach. He would rather have it a little where he can sort of get a good grip with his left foot.
And he leaves a 4-pin. From his actions, he thought he had one. Ray Bluth. It's 5'10", 190. Gives away 30 pounds, but that weight doesn't mean much in this sport of bowling. We've seen the smallest of them compete. And youngsters of every age able to get that ball down the lane. By the way, we have a lot of Cub Scouts on hand. St. Louis Area Council Cub Scouts. Den 683. A little getaway by Steve that time as he left the 6-pin. Wonder how many people are listening and watching out there and say, I'd like to bowl, but I don't know how. Well, things have changed quite a bit in recent years. Your bowling proprietor can remedy the situation if he's equipped with a Learn to Bowl program, and a good many of them are. This teaching method utilizes sound films produced for groups including youngsters, men, the women, the seniors. Ask your proprietor about the Learn to Bowl program. If you want to get in the league, well, he'll take care of that too. Steve Nagy has started with 2 spares, looking for his first strike, and there's one. Steve had only a couple in the first game. Bluth driving in there, just nudged the 10-pin out. So strike, spare, strike for Ray. In a previous Top Star Bowling series, Ray Bluth won 3 matches, beat Thurm Gibson, Pete Carter, Joe Joseph. And then he was vanquished by Bill Lillard from Dallas in a rather close match, an 18-pin difference.
Remember those matches? Gee, they were really cliffhangers.
They were all close. Ray looking for a double. Down the head pin and leaves the 4-6. He started this match in good shape, however, in this game, head by 32 pins. Yes, when he won last year 3 times, he won by 4 pins, 1 pin, 7 pins, and then lost by 18 pins. He goes for the count as he takes down the 4-pin. So Steve Nagy, who has no opens, has a strike up, and he can bite into Ray Bluth's lead here with a hit. And he failed completely to take advantage of it, leaving the 4-6-10. It's nothing more than coincidence, I'm sure, but did you ever notice how when one fellow strikes, the other one strikes? When the other one splits, quite often his opponent splits. So they both open in the 4th frame. And Bluth has a 3-pin lead. Now he's 35 ahead. Steve Nagy up there with a gotta-go-to-work attitude. It's that ball out, up, everything shakes, 5-pin stays. Had the 5-7 for a while, the 7-pin went down, the 5 remains. Ball hit thin, but oftentimes he's been carrying. This time the ball didn't drive through there for him.
I was watching Ray, Jack, and normally he don't sit over in that area, but he's had a little trouble with that left lane, and he sat there to watch Nagy's ball work on that.
So Steve gets his spare in the 5th frame.
Sometimes the pro bowlers, just like Ray did, they'll blow into the thumb hole, Jack. That's just merely allowing for maybe some wetness that might be in the thumb hole, just a precaution.
He leaves the 2-4-5-8 as the ball just barely got to the head pin paw. Had a peculiar angle on that one, Whitey. I guess he just threw it too far out, huh?
Yes, because he was on the approach the same way where he's been shooting.
Just didn't put the ball down properly.
Now he's shooting to the right, where normally they had been shooting to the left, Jack, on this bucket.
And he covers it for a spare. Loses some in the pin count, however. They each have a spare in the 5th frame. Ray Bluth has picked up 3 pins, and Ray Bluth 68 through the 4th with a spare up. Steve Nagy 65 through the 4th with a spare up.
See if he learned anything, Jack. He got a 4-6 the last time on this lane. He should keep it out.
And he was out and then in. That's his 3rd strike.
We
No
don't
doubles.
like to second guess him or anything, but
As long as you
it's
mention
easy
it before
back
he
here.
bowls. All right. Steve Nagy's had only 1 strike in this game and a total of 3 so far. He's really laboring to get that ball out there. And he splits again, leaving the 9-10. Notice how quickly that ball comes back from the A2 Brunswick automatics. Has to fit this ball right in between the 9-10, and he didn't do it. So he opens again. Has 92 through the 6th. And remember, he started this game 32 pins behind as we shoot for $1,000. Steve is up on 21 in the 7th frame. 1, 2, 4, 10. So Steve's having his problems. He had his problems last week, but he emerged victorious.
Well, I think Ray Arf described it last week, Jack, is when they start fishing around, this is what happens. I mean, they can't establish a line at all. And
Over on the opening side, just touched the head pin, leaves a 10 pin, and that's his third open of the game. Ray Bluth has 88 through the 5th with a strike up, and Steve Nagy 101 through the 7th. Ray Bluth up in the 7th frame of the second game, out in front by 35 pins and looking for a double. Recall that Steve Nagy opened in the 7th frame. Let's see if Ray can take advantage. And he's in the pocket. And 4 pin was the last to go down, but it dropped for him. And there's his double, and his lead opens up against his opponent from Cleveland. $1,000 in prize money. Ray, 3 in a row, and he's pouring it on now. He had 5 strikes in the first game, and he already has 5 in this game, and he has a 3-bagger going for him through the 8th. Steve Nagy has opened his last 2 frames. He has 101 through the 7th. And he's confronted with a baby split as he leaves a 3-10. That's his 3rd split in this game. He had 1 in the first game. Ray Bluth had 1 in each game so far. Steve goes after that baby split and leaves the 10 pin. So that's his 3rd straight open. He has 110 through the 8th. Mentioned earlier that Ray Bluth is one of the fine team bowlers in the country today. So is Steve Nagy. There's his strike. He had 2 strikes in the first game, and that's his 2nd strike in this one.
I think Jackie thinks it's the roll-off.
He don't want to sit down. He said he liked that alley. He said he didn't want to leave. Ray Bluth has 3 in a row as he bowls in the 9th frame.
Also, Ray will be shooting for, if he gets them all, Jack, for a 238 game, which I think that would put him out in front of Chase.
All right, but he needs strikes. No 10 pin. I think it was a little bit light on that one. Ray started with 196 in the first game and had a 32 pin advantage over Steve Nagy, who had 164. He was going to have to strike out to better that game. Ray Bluth just hung on, got the 10 pin. So he has 167 through the 8th with a spare up. He's in the roll-off now. 217 if he can hit 3 of them. There's a thin hit that carries. Thin hit that carry for Ray as the 8 pin toppled off.
That Brunswick score pin just stood up there long enough to see the label and fall back into the pit.
It was tottering there and finally dropped. So Ray will be over the 200 mark, 217 if he hits 2 more. It's a good place for that. He leaves a 4-7-10. He'll go for the 2 pins. And 207. 206, excuse me.
Might knock it off, Jack. Ball going over in that direction.
I'm sure he doesn't care that much about the pin. So Ray Bluth is finished after opening with a 196. He comes back with a 206. .402. Nagy strikes in the roll-off, and that's a double for him. That's a help.
Could use them all here. If he does get them all, he'll have 170.
There's another one. I didn't think he was going to get that one, but he did.
That was right into the bugle, Jack, and that's, if you ask me to explain it, I can't, because normally you would end up with about a 4-6 split.
Everything just went. Steve ends with 168. So 164 and 168 for Steve Nagy. Ray Bluth had 196, 206 for 402. And Steve Nagy, 164, 168, 332. Ray Bluth is ahead by 70 pins at the end of the second game. The third game here on Top Star Bowling, the Marlboro Lanes, will be getting underway very shortly. Chance for a visit prior to that, however. You know, oftentimes we refer to the junior bowling programs, and people have talked about the youngsters bowling, but they never have talked to the youngsters themselves. And I also mentioned earlier on this telecast that we have some members of a Cub Scout pack on hand, 683, and here's one of their representatives here, and his name is?
Timmy Moran.
Timmy Moran. How old are you, Tim?
8.
And you're a bowler, right?
Yes, sir.
What league are you in?
Monday Bantam League.
And you bowl on Mondays, huh?
Yes, sir.
One after school?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been bowling?
3 years.
Let me see, 8, 3. How old were you when you started?
5.
Very good. Very good. What kind of an average do you have?
151.
Really?
Yes, sir.
You're not kidding me.
No, sir.
Huh? What's your high game?
216.
What do you think of that, Steve Nagy? That was a low blow, wasn't it? 216. How many 200 games do you have?
Over 12.
I'll be darned. You're going to be on Top Star Bowling someday?
I don't know.
I think you will be. Timmy, nice to visit with you, buddy.
Thank you.
Okay, Timmy Moran, our guest here. 150 average, huh? Well, let's get set and see what happens in the match between Ray Bluth and Steve Nagy, the third and final game coming up on Top Star Bowling. What do you think, Whitey?
I don't know. I don't think we have to worry about moon exploration or anything else when they got little ones like that. They're thinking of the future.
He's a dandy. Well, Ray Bluth has a 70-pin advantage as the third game gets underway. He's up on 21. He's bowled 196 and 206, and he fires a 9 count. Left the 4-pin.
Also, another thought, Jack, in regards to the young ones like that, it's a saying of where you got to take it two ways, is that we've brought the kids in off the streets and put them in the alleys.
Mm-hmm. But the thing about it is that the mom and dad comes along with them now. It's such a great family game. There's a spare for Ray Bluth. About all he has to do, Whitey, is just keep marking, huh?
Yeah, we might as well face it that way, Jack, because, although it never can happen,
Oh, no.
Steve could go, but...
Of course, Bluth figures to get a striker to himself. And there's the 610 for Steve Nagy.
I think it's tremendous when you look at not taking anything away from Steve's fantastic record, but with Ray Bluth, who has 5 800 series in actual competition. That's for 3 games, Jack.
Steve chops a 6 off the 10. Steve has a top series of 831 to his credit. Now that's some bowling. 25 300 games. 25 300 games, one of them in the World's Invitational in 1961. That has to rank as one of his big throws. He's on the nose again. Leaves a 3-6-10. He says, somebody say something.
We've told
Shake him up, he says.
Jack, we told a story last year where actually Steve is always involved in any type of promotion, and he actually threw a bowling ball off of Pikes Peak.
He just threw one off the 3-pin. Well, I tell you, he's going to start having some fun now. Anything can happen from this point in. He said he was looking for that Cub Scout to finish the game for him. Ray Bluth, of course, deadly serious. Leaves a 4-pin, as he had in the first frame when he spared. And Ray has another spare as opposed to the 2 opens on the part of Steve Nagy.
So often the bowlers, Jack, will put their hand over that Brunswick hand dryer. It's right there on the in the terminal where the balls are on the return.
Ray leaves a 10-pin, so he's left 2 4-pins and a 10-pin. Ray had 5 strikes in the first game and 6 in the second. And he hasn't really found the pocket like we expected him to. In practice, he bowled a 300 game here. I didn't see it. I heard about it, and I asked him. I said, I heard you bowled a 300. He said, maybe I did. So he has 3 spares to start this 3rd game. Mr. Nagy has had his problems. 164, 168, and 2 opens so far in this game. Rolled that one nicely. 4-pin. Steve is 50 years old. He started bowling in 1924. That's the year I was born, Whitey.
I guess through those years, Jack, Steve has had an opportunity to see bowling change, really change.
He's one of the great names that the game has known.
We might as well tell stories on Steve. Once before where he used to run a lot like he does, Jack, he was on an end pair of lanes and there was a door open and he ran one out and he ran right into a clothes closet full of brooms and mops.
And a 4-pin. So there have been a few 4-pins left.
I think when Steve reaches this point in the game, the ideal setup that he would have, what is it, one of these lavalier microphones attached to him.
He's after the 4-pin and he gets it. I tell you, this Bluth is about the most serious of all the bowlers I've met. You agree?
Yes, Jack. He definitely is really a student of the game, and he studies the game. And this is a good shot of him when he's moving up there.
Well, he wiped him out that time. That's his first strike in this game. You could hear that thumb pop when he came out that time.
Billy's come back and he says, "What's up?"
He marched down every game he ever bowled at any lane. That's the 2nd time in this match that he has left the 1, 2, 4, 10, and one of the few times he has failed to hit the head pin.
I think, Jack, wasn't that on the same lane? It's been on that left lane,
I think so.
They're playing that lane so deep, and that's what happens when occasionally you play a lane where you're so far to the left.
And he took it down for another spare, and he was working on a strike, so that didn't hurt him. Yes, 78 through the 4th frame with a strike up, and now Steve Nagy in the 5th frame. Steve is working on a spare. And he leaves the 4-7. I've watched Ray Bluth bowl a lot. You've watched him more than I, Whitey. I bet you can't recall many times when he's crossed over to the Brooklyn side, have you?
No, that's true.
Nagy's having a little fun now, twisting that ball around. He threw a hook about the width of the alley. He gets his spare in the 5th. So Ray Bluth has 78 through the 4th with a spare up. Steve Nagy 55 through the 4th with a spare up.
Hold speed.
Six, 7, 10. Yes, Ray wants to help him on this one.
I think
Ray
what they're
one ball, he's throwing out.
Yes, normally in an exhibition or something, but I think I don't know if what they're going to do, but this is Top Star Bowling, and you can expect to see anything in Top Star Bowling.
Yeah. Well, Nagy has conceded.
And looks like Irving Schwartz
Nagy has conceded the match. He's conceded the match, so here they go, trying to get the 6, 7, 10. Steve throws to one side.
Holy
throws
smokes!
To the other. Look out! Well, that takes care of the foul will be up on the score sheet for Steve Nagy. And, of course, we have to keep it according to the ABC rules. Now, Ray will continue along with this game because he has a chance, of course, for high single and high series.
Nagy, being the gentleman he is, will probably concede the match, won't he?
Well, he has conceded. Ray Bluth goes back to work. And he's... Steve Nagy gets up and says, "You want me to help you?" Ray has the 4-9. I tell you, you don't very often get Ray involved in things like this. You and I know him pretty well, Whitey.
No, this is... I think it goes back to, we'll say, how serious Ben Hogan plays the game, and this is a good example that Ray Bluth is always so serious, too. Although off the approach, Ray is
Oh, yeah.
a wonderful gentleman. He'll pick it just for the crowd.
And he leaves a 9-pin.
Yeah.
I think Nagy conned him into it. Ray Bluth in the 7th frame. Each bowler has opened in the 6th. There's a strike for Bluth. Strike for Ray in the 7th. And Steve over on the Brooklyn side leaves a 6-9. He's a happy fella. And he covers the 6-9. Spares in the 7th frame.
I don't think we're off base, Jack, and actually saying, and we're not alibiing for Steve, but actually he does have a bad knee. He mentioned that to me before
Yeah,
this
but we didn't want to say anything about it early until things started to happen to him here, and he got pretty well behind Ray Bluth. That's a lot different than going up at the beginning of the match and say, "Well, Steve, you have a bad knee, but good luck anyhow." And he didn't want us to sing about it.
Well, I think it again brings out, we'll say, the integrity of putting on a good bowling show, plus that these bowlers are the same way. They have to go on regardless of what happens to them.
He's going for the 3-10, and he ran by the 3-pin. Opens again. Nagy's pretty lighthearted about it, considering all the money that's involved. Here's Ray Bluth in the 8th frame, looking for a double. How can they stand up? There's his double, and he moves over to 21 for the 9th frame. We're watching Ray Bluth.
I think, too, remarking before, this Ray was just for a second there, he got into the humor of the thing, but he's back to thinking things out.
There's another strike, 3 for him. So he's had 4 strikes in this game, 6 in the 2nd, 5 in the 1st. And Nagy gets a strike. Hey, attaboy, Steve.
Glanced at the watch.
How long has it been?
I imagine he's up to something now. I just got a feeling. I don't know. I don't think he could finish out this series without doing anything at this particular stage.
He's in the roll-off now, looking for a double. Let out a little yell, left the 6-10. What do you say, I'm nervous?
Yeah. Steve has done wonderful work, Jack, in his Bowler's Victory Legion program where he goes to the veterans' hospitals.
There's his spare in the 10th. 126 through the 9th with the spare up.
Oh, too fast. I did try this last year, but it didn't work. I'll try it once more.
Here's a trick shot for the ladies that...
Women throw so slow you can read the numbers on them when it's going down. Oh, no. That one didn't work.
Steve said the men throw the ball too fast. He's going to show them one for the ladies.
That was the fella asking questions about that. That was Fritz Fugel that was asking what he was going to do.
He's going to throw the spare ball first. And the first ball second. I've seen him do it before. He'll leave the spare with the first ball and then take him down with the second.
I think he even mumbled some words there. It sounded like a prayer, Jack. If we could have read his lips, everything went bad for this guy.
Okay, now Ray Bluth in the roll-off. He has a three-bagger going. There's 4 in a row for Ray.
Jack.
Jack, in noting the different things there, why in the 10th frame, although he got a spare, we will give him a foul in the 10th because it makes it 136, and naturally he had conceded the match earlier, but we still want to stay within the realm of bowling rules.
Ray Bluth has just hit his 5th in a row, and so he gives indications that he's going to be tough 2 weeks from today when he takes on Wayne Zahn. And a reminder here that it's a ladies' show next week on Top Star Bowling, Marion Ladewig and Judy Audsley. Final delivery for Ray Bluth, and he's right in the groove, but leaves a 4-pin. And he finishes with 224. So Ray Bluth, 224 in the last game and a 626 total. And Steve Nagy bowled 136 in his last game and ended with 468. Ray Bluth, our winner on this edition of Top Star Bowling. And Ray, congratulations, too.
Thank you, Jack.
And before awarding the prizes, a chance to talk with Ray and Steve. Steve, this has been your 3rd week, but you've had it now, huh?
Well, I've had a little trouble. See,
I know
38.
that.
Well, maybe you might notice that I wasn't sticking. Well, in a way, I was sticking. But see, for 38 years, I've been bowling 5 steps. Probably a lot of people never noticed it, but went into 4 steps so I can get a better slide. But I got the ball advanced too quick, and if you advance the ball too quick, then you don't have no slide.
So you still haven't found the groove yet with the 4-step approach.
I got a trick knee anyhow, and I put some pressure on it, and I was afraid to slide after. I had the ball too close, too fast. I was like Horf last week. I was hunting without a license.
Even your trick shots didn't work.
Nothing worked. Everything's bad.
We've got some money for you, though, huh?
I'll be glad to get that.
Ray, you found the lanes pretty much to your liking, huh?
Oh, I enjoyed bowling this afternoon.
Let's bring in the young lady who is a graduate of the John Robert Powers School of Modeling and the Pat Allen Agency here in St. Louis, and she is the money gal here on Top Star Bowling. And her name is Eunice Flynn. Eunice?
Mr. Ray Nagy, this is your check for $500, and that was a nice little game.
She said it was a nice little game.
You said that, or I was a nice little game.
And Ray Bluth, this is your check for $1,000, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Steve, you're always fun to be around. The folks here have enjoyed you at Marlboro Lanes, and congratulations on your winning. And nice to have been with you again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Steve Nagy and Ray Bluth, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Jack. Be back.
The reason I say a couple of weeks when talking to Ray Bluth about his future appearance here is that it's a ladies' match coming up on Top Star Bowling next week. Marion Ladewig against Judy Audsley, and that should be a good one. Ray Bluth, our winner, and so we have a new defending champion on Top Star Bowling, and Wayne Zahn will be Ray Bluth's opponents 2 weeks from this show, and we'll again be back at the Marlboro Lanes in the village of Marlboro, Missouri, just outside of the city of St. Louis, the gateway to the west. Speaking for Whitey Harris, Jack Buck says thanks for your time this time. Till next time, so long.